Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the latest F&P webinar with Barhead. My name is Claire Joyce and I am the Content Director at F&P. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia. I am on the beautiful lands of the Gundungurra and Darug people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and welcome any Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander people we have with us today. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to two people from Barhead who are rolling out Microsoft's fundraising and engagement solution. It's a really exciting time for them, and I hope they will have a lot of information. Well, I know they'll have a lot of information to share with you about how this can help you. So please welcome Amanda Stenson, and then a little bit later, Lisa Crosby. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was on mute. Hello, everyone. My name's Amanda Stenson, and I will be introducing you all to the new fundraising and engagement solution that has been recently released by Microsoft. Just to begin, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out to spend with us, and hopefully you'll be able to learn a lot from the next 45 minutes or so. So just a little bit about who we are, just to give you a little bit of context. For some people, you may be familiar with me. My name's Amanda Stenson and I've been working with NFPs for over 20 years, so pretty much my entire career, and been delivering technology solutions for NFPs over that time. So I've always been focused on helping organisations such as yours to be able to maximise what they can through technology. With me today and who will be introducing the fundraising and engagement platform and giving you a preview of that application is Lisa Crosby. Lisa is what we refer to as our technology evangelist. Lisa's very passionate about the Microsoft platform, and her role within our organisation is to keep us abreast and to keep us up to date with all the new and upcoming features and advancements that are coming. And as we know, they're all coming very thick and fast, from anything from machine learning and artificial intelligence all the way through to the new dataverse. I'm not sure if we'll get to use that word again today, but feel free to contact us about it. So moving on, who is Barhead? So just to give you a little bit of context about why we're here and why we're representing Microsoft. So ultimately, Barhead is a Microsoft partner, and Microsoft are obviously the developers of the technology. And I'm sure that all of you have had some interaction with the Microsoft product, probably even today. So in regards to applications such as Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, anything relating to Office 365. Barhead, as a partner, it is our job to enable customers such as yourself to be able to sort of leverage all of this technology. And we know that there's a lot of it out there and there's a lot to consider. So it's our job to be able to help organisations like you to, I know we hear the term digitally transform a lot, but really just try and tackle that sort of one step at a time. So with regards to the last few years, Microsoft internally have created what's called the Tech for Social Impact team. And they've really made some really significant investments in being able to deliver a unified solution that is tailored for the not-for-profits. Barhead is closely aligned with this vision, and we're privileged to have an actual dedicated NFP practice or a team that are focused on delivering clients and supporter-based solutions for you. Now, with regards to the fundraising and engagement solution, which was released last month by Microsoft, that is really just another building block in the ecosystem. What's kind of significant about this is it's really the first time that Microsoft have released a functional application. So something that is literally out of the box, built on one of their applications, which is Dynamics CRM, and is dedicated to a vertical. This is this is a major step and a major investment. So a lot of the time they've had things such as accelerators and so forth, but this is a fully formed application that they're working with partners such as Barhead to be able to efficiently deliver and implement the solution. They've really taken this approach because they really want to make it easier for organisations like yours in the NFP sector to leverage all of the capabilities of the cloud. And as this is growing and as we're all working in different circumstances today, that is becoming more and more important. So when we look at the actual, some of the challenges that are potentially being faced by not-for-profits at the moment, I'm sure most of you are probably saying, yep, I've come across at least one, if not all of some of these. So these are really just a very quick summary of some of the things that I have heard in my experience over the last many years. For example, it's not easy to quickly collaborate, communicate or engage with stakeholders, particularly now that we're all remote. So being able to email or SMS or phone or to track all those engagements they're all in disparate applications. So a lot of the time, what that means is that you can't automate or you can't personalize those donor journeys as easily as you should be. So it's virtually impossible in some cases to be able to consolidate all of those pieces of information. It's also not easy to sort of really build a true picture of the health of a donor relationship, particularly across different channels. You know, are you, you know, getting more major gifts from certain types of relationships, for example? Sort of identifying it, you probably can do it, but it wouldn't be an exceptionally easy thing to achieve. With regards to, you know, donors themselves, they're kind of looking for more transparency with regards to what impact are they actually having with their donor dollar. And so many organisations now are looking to how do they better tie that information to impact, and they are looking for better systems to help them do that. The other thing is with regards to many of the organisations that I've encountered, that they have multiple data silos, and that's generally because a lack of connectedness across the systems. So where this was probably manageable in the past, particularly when we were all a lot more office-based than we are now, you know, it wasn't as big an inhibitor as it maybe is becoming. And as we work more and more remotely, other issues are becoming apparent that are things around security, the visibility across and wanting to be able to do things like automate tasks and minimize manual processing. While these things were maybe a little bit annoying, are actually becoming bigger concerns for organisations as they look to how do they operate in the new world. So really, with regards to the attraction of the Microsoft offering, if we look at the what the TSI team have now done, is they've really taken the current cloud platform and they have repurposed that into the ecosystem and taken things such as Dynamics and the Power Platform and transformed it for the not-for-profit sector. So if you actually look at this particular diagram here, what it's actually showing you is they've taken the products and they've got constituent management and funding. So that's where we'll be looking at how you can attract and track and engage all of your donors and effectively fundraise for your organisation. They've also then taken a lot of their core products and focused it around program delivery so that you can look at how your services, program execution is operating. They obviously have financials and they've really focused a lot on being able to provide insights and impact for your organisation as well, so that organisations can really accurately measure what the outcomes are and tie them to the donations and be able to deliver that impact back to the donor. So really what makes Microsoft so powerful is not the fact that it's integrated, because it's not integrated, it's actually native. So everything that you're going to see today is, it didn't have to be a plugin or an add-on or anything along that nature. It is all sitting on the same platform. And this includes all of the different sort of applications you're used to today. So if you're looking here, this is sort of just a very graphical, high-level snapshot of what is it that you're looking at when I say native. We're looking at all the native security that's managing all of the native applications, Office 365, Dynamics. In some cases, where the trickiness comes for organisations is trying to deal with the point solution, where you have multiple clouds, multiple applications, and they're all trying to work together. Not to say that they can't, but that's where some of the challenge comes in. And this is where Microsoft are really trying to help organisations like yours to leverage the tools that they have today to be able to really have a better experience and a better outcome. Now, when I say, being able to achieve a centralised view, really you can kind of break it down to a simple diagram like this, where, we want you to be able to access things like the Azure functions, to be able to do efficient gift processing. We want you to be able to access the power of reporting tools like Power BI. We want you to be able to leverage all of the suite of Office 365 and be able to create those automations and collaboration. And and to finalise that circle, we've then got the ability to put the fundraising and engagement application, which will be your target CRM or central repository. And this is all part of a centralised view within a native application. So that's just a little bit of a sort of high level look at what it is that Microsoft brings and how that has been repurposed and tailored for the not-for-profit market. So on that note, I'm actually going to pass over to Lisa, and she's going to start walking through some of the hands-on look at the fundraising and engaging application.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. I'm very excited to show you this today. I'm not sure if we said this up front, but we've got a Q&A window going alongside the webinar, as you would expect. We're all very familiar with webinar formats this year. So I'm going to take you through this demo, and then we're going to have a chance to answer some of those questions at the end. Certainly happy to clarify anything that comes up in the demo, or to talk about the capabilities of the broader platform here as we go as well. So when Amanda talks about this being a full platform, and when we use this idea of native, I'm not going to use the word integration anywhere here today, because what we're actually talking about in terms of a platform is this. Now, I'm sure you will all see something here you're familiar with. I bet everyone's seen Excel. You're probably using Outlook, Word, all of these things. And so this is what we mean by a full platform. These are the tools you already use every day, and they are in the same place as this fundraising solution from Microsoft, which is built on Dynamics 365. So you'll see that Dynamics 365 sits within all of these other familiar applications. We've also got within there some power things. I shouldn't call them power tools, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI. These are parts of the platform that allow you to create custom applications and configure additional pieces with no code. I won't go there today, but just to kind of position all of these pieces together in one platform, what I'm going to be showing you is the Microsoft solution built specifically for fundraising, which uses the rest of the underlying Dynamics 365 CRM capabilities. So you're kind of getting all of that working together as one piece. But I'm also going to show you how these other familiar tools come into the picture as well. So we'll have a look at how that works with Outlook, where you can have your communications together, how Excel works just completely natively inside there, because, as much as we have these amazing systems, we all still love to do data entry in Excel. We all still love to do reporting in Excel. It's the most globally used tool for business applications in the world. So, you know, let's go with that. I'm also going to have a look at Microsoft Teams and how that works for collaboration here as part of that platform. Everyone's on some kind of tool for that this year, whether it's Zoom or Teams or whatever. So the idea of being able to collaborate in the context of all of this is part of it. So as we go through the solution, I'll be kind of pulling in these bits and pieces there so that we can show you how all of those things work. And again, when we say one platform, what that means is we're not moving data around to do any of these things. You don't have to build an integration with Outlook, or you don't even need to export to Excel. So let's go ahead and have a look at the fundraising solution here. And I will start by orienting just, you know, the navigation around the system here and what the different components are, so that you can see what's going on. So we're within this application here called Fundraising and Engagement. And down the left-hand side, we have our main menu of options. And there are actually different sort of areas within the application. At the moment, I'm working in the fundraising area, and you'll see there that what I've got in the menu on the side here is the ability to manage the people. So the people are obviously at the heart of this, our donors, their relationships to companies, to organizations, and also to be able to look at them from the point of view of a household, where there's more than one person in a household, and what impact that household is making, and what donations and fundraising activities they're doing there. We'll have a closer look at that later. That's actually one of the most exciting parts of this, is how all of this comes together. We've also got the ability to do our fundraising, those core pieces of saying, what are our campaigns? What are the appeals? What are the packages? And this is all set up so that that's just a data entry experience for you to set those things up. And then as we go through, I'll show you how those pieces come back together, because that means you can slice and dice and report and search and just view everything. So it's built to all these pieces to be interconnected. If we have a look at the switcher down the bottom here, we can actually go to other parts of the application. And the idea here is that this can cover a whole range of different roles. So you don't need those different point solutions if you're working in perhaps the transactional side of things versus working in the side of things that's to do with development. So if we switch across here from fundraising to gifts, and you'll see straight away that menu down the left-hand side changes. So the experience here is that the person working in this area is someone who might be working very closely with managing the pledges that are coming in, managing the transactions, the bank runs, all of those kinds of things. And this is designed to hook up so that you can push stuff out to your finance system as well, but that you can manage it all here as a central source of truth, including payment gateways and so on. And so as I go through each of these sections here, you'll see that there's different kind of functionality that pops up. It's all in the same place, but we have a different piece over the top, so that depending on your role, it's quite easy to navigate. You know, you just come in and work with the parts that you work. If you're across multiple roles, you could just switch in this way. Here we see the events management part. So there's a part here where I could set up and manage events. I could have tables for fundraising events and have registrations and sell tickets and manage, you know, additional perhaps things that we want to sell as part of that event, and different ad hoc kind of donations and things that come in. So fully fledged system there. There's a lot going on in this application. I'm going to focus today on a couple of things, which is the part about the person, the donor, and how that works with the household, and also to have a look at this idea of how we handle major moves, major donations, and that gifts process, because that draws on that underlying sales CRM functionality, which is part of it as well. So the experience there, depending on who you are in the organisation, you're going to have a different experience of the application, and it just allows you to work with the pieces that you need to work with. So those are different roles and different users there, but again, it's all the same thing underneath, and you're just kind of getting a view on it that works for you in your particular role in the organisation, without having to move the data back and forth between those things. So what we're looking at here is a dashboard, and this is all fully configurable. You can bring in whatever you want. This is the one that comes with the system. And the idea here is perhaps I'm working in development. I've got some major corporate donations or bequests and so on that I'm working with. And I come in at the start of the day and I get this overview. And this allows me to get a quick snapshot of what's going on. So for instance, we see there we've got the, what are the major gifts that have been received. It's defined here as over $10,000, but you can define that however you like in your organization as a simple change there to display something different. We can see the gifts that have come in. We could go through and say, oh, okay, I've started my day and look at this. We've got a major donation that's just come in from a Datum Corporation there. We can see the primary designation of where that's going to. And the idea of a dashboard like this is it gives you that quick overview and allows you to then go through and say, well, where do I want to go next? What do I want to explore more here, to drill down and click through into those things, to orient myself and get through to the next stage of what it is that I want to look at in more detail. So what I'm going to do now is take you into the part of the application where we look at the people, so the donors, and how we get a 360-degree view of the donor, because this is, as Amanda said, this is a pain point we hear all the time, and Microsoft has put a lot of work into this being really at the heart of what's going on here. So a nice search experience at the top here. This will immediately come up with, you can see Gabriela Morales is going to be my demo person for today. If I've worked with her recently, she comes up there. I could also click through to her straight from a dashboard there. Nice keyword search experience, so really nice and easy to find things in the system. And then what we're looking at here is the 360-degree view of Gabriela. And what I'm going to do is spend some time here just taking you through what we're looking at here. So we start off with all of her personal information, with her salutations and so on. But you'll see there that she has a relationship to two different things. She's got a relationship to a company or an organization. So, she works, perhaps she's a kind of a senior leader at that organization or a person of influence there. And we're working with her and that organization on a major donation, a corporate sponsorship or something. But she's also a member of a household. She lives with somebody else, and between the two of them, they're making donations. So the system can handle both of those relationships and track the activities there separately. We've also got the ability to put in something like a membership. We can manage our memberships in here. We can manage giving levels. And again, these things are just a matter of doing data entry to set them up. So it's all done there for you. And you just go in and say, what giving levels do we have? What memberships do we have? And just set those things up. So there's a nice, easy experience there just to set up those things so that it is particular to your organization. And then all of that works here. We can see that we can track what Gabriela is doing in terms of, her things that she's interested in, the objectives she wants to work with, which can help us to target and communicate more personally with her. And down the side there, we've got a timeline, which is the start of sort of showing you how emails and Outlook integrates with this. Oops, I've used the word integration. How emails kind of work through with this and show through. And I'll come back to that one a little bit later. I correct myself there, because really it's a matter of just a sign in and connect. So to get those two systems working together. But we've got the 360-degree view there of all of the communications that we've had with this person. And you can make that visible to whoever you need to in your organization. So the middle section here is really, our lovely just kind of snapshot summary of what's going on. So what we've got here is to say we're actually working on a major solicitation here. We can see how it's going, where it's up to, how long it's been going for, and how much it might be worth. And then this widget in the middle here, which just gives us a really good sense of those key facts. And again, we can use this to drill down further. So we can see that when her last gift was made, what she has influenced. So it can handle those soft soft credits as well. Perhaps she's influenced a donation that's come from a company or a fundraising event, but she wasn't the actual donor herself. We can see the memberships that she holds, and then we can also go in and see this household. So this is the concept of a roll-up. Everything that happens from the members in that household will roll up into a household record so that you can get that view of them together. We can actually see there, we can click back and forth, and sadly Blaine hasn't made much of a contribution, but we can see the household contribution together with the individual members in it and get that snapshot. So if we click through now and have a look at the household record here, you'll see we've got the members of the household. So there's our friend Gabriella again and Blaine. We've got the timeline, so any communications that happen with that households again will be visible there, and we're getting that summary in the middle of what's going on with that household. We can also do things like set the role within the household. Is this person the primary household member, a minor person, or so on, so that we can keep track of those different household relationships and see what's going on there. So we'll just go back now to have a look at Gabriella again, and sort of, you know, see what we can do with this big opportunity and some of the activities that we're working with her there. So we can click. All of these things are clickable, right? Everything in the system. It's quite easy navigation because you can sort of click everywhere and go back. You can always use the search box at the top. So also within Gabriella here, we've got all these shortcuts at the top. So all of these are built in that allow you to do things easily, like, you know, we've got credit cards. Obviously, this is PCI compliant. We're just storing tokenized versions of the credit cards, and we can shortcut to those things as well. Just having a look at her company record here. We can also handle all of these kinds of things at a company level. So the system can handle donations, transactions, pledges, ongoing recurring gifts and things from organizations as well as from people, and that will be tracked against that organization. So all the same functionality there that you can handle both at the level of that individual person or coming from organizations if that's where you want to track it. So we've got this full kind of 360-degree here of Gabriella, where we can see all of those things and all of the different ways that we're interacting with her, and what's gone on in all of those areas. So let's see where that information comes from here, because this is just a display in the end of something else. If we go in and have a look at the detail behind that, this is the history. So all of the history is in here of all of the different kinds of activities that have gone on. So you'll see we've got different transactions in there, and as the donations come in, they're linked here. And these hyperlinks here, you can see these are linked back to the primary designation, back to the campaign that we worked on. So again, all of these pieces coming together. We've also got donor commitments or pledges, so we can work with what's coming up that's been pledged. Same concept, everything can be linked back to the designation, and we've got payment schedules or kind of recurring donations in there as well. Now, I don't want to kind of focus here today on getting into the transactional level. If that's something you're interested in, we're certainly happy to do a kind of a full demo of that. But for today, I want to give you more of an overview of things. But just to show you how this transactional component works here, you'll see it's linked back to the donor. I can choose the campaign, and once I choose that, you see immediately that the appeal and the primary designation for that campaign that we've set up beforehand just by putting that data into the system comes up. You can change those things, of course. So it's making it easy for you by putting in the default values that you've set up, but of course you can change that and assign it to a different designation if you need to. We can also add relationships back to other people here. Let's say Blaine was someone who was influential here. We could link him up. We can bring in other related constituents and so on. So you see all of these are just kind of using nice little lookup boxes to just go and look up and connect the other pieces in the system. As we mentioned earlier, we can handle both donations and this idea of soft credits that are influenced. And we can also handle different kinds of gifts here. So I've got a cash gift sitting here, but if I go and choose something different, let's say I choose that it's an in-kind donation, you see how the options change there, because we might want to bring in things like, you know, if you've got a donation of a house or something like that, you might need an appraiser and you might need to add those details. So depending on what kind of donation you've got, it will prompt you and It'll allow you to enter different information. We can handle our receipting through here by email or print, and we can track where the donation came from in terms of phone or email or in person. So I'll just go ahead and put in something basic here just to give you a sense of it, that we can save and process that donation. And that will process that transaction. If we're using the credit card in the system, it would connect to the payment gateway, just tokenized there. Obviously, as I said, PCI compliance, we're not storing people's credit cards in the system. But if we go back to Gabriella now, we can see that that section in the middle there has been updated. So we've got that last gift amount of $50 that just came through. So this part in the middle is always just displaying that summary, and whatever we do in the system is just kind of coming back in here and rolling up so that we do that. So let's now sort of switch gears a little bit and have a look at the experience from the point of view of someone working on a major, major corporate sponsorship, major donation, and so on. And what we're looking at here is a list of, I'm working in development, I've got all of these opportunities that I'm working on. And this is where we start to see the underlying, more traditional sort of CRM type functionality working with the fundraising area. Here's one of my favorite things, right? Excel. I promised you Excel. We all love Excel. So it comes in here. We can just say open in Excel, and I can actually do my data entry from here. So I can go through and say, actually, this one is, it's dropped a bit. So it's going to be more like 4,000 rather than 5,000, and adjust that. So even if you're working with your list of donors, of organizations, anywhere in the system, you can come in here and actually add data or update it, change it, and so on. And I'm working with Excel completely embedded here. I didn't even need to do an export import. I just open in Excel and do that data entry in Excel. And again, that's an experience that most people are very, very familiar with. So that makes it nice and kind of clear and easy for people to do. We all love our Excel reports and charts, right? I do. So we can bring those in here as well. We've got an example here of a pipeline management template, but you can bring, this is a standard one that comes with the system, you can bring your own as well. So again, I can just open that in there and save it and work on it somewhere else, or just view it in the context of looking at my opportunities there with all of the underlying data underneath. So Excel just kind of built in there, or on the one platform. I can use Excel directly embedded inside Dynamics here without even needing to go anywhere. Of course, you can also genuinely export to Excel with a single click of a button if you prefer to do that. So now let's go in and have a look at this idea of working through a major donation and how that works and how that comes together. And we start with this idea of a guided process. So you could guide your sellers, your development people through a series of stages and steps. And this can be set up to reflect your particular process that you want them to go through. This is a fairly standard kind of opportunity process here, to go through and follow those steps through to completion. You can see this is linked back. So we've got in this case, we've got the idea of linking it back to a corporate donor. So we've got the country bank there, again, through to those campaigns. So over and over again, everything just links back to the campaign, to the designation, to all of those things, which means however you want to slice, dice, and report on that, it's all good to go. We've also got here the timeline down the side. So I said I'd mentioned that one before, and this is where we're starting to track that interaction. So if you're working on a major, major sponsorship or something, you want to track those things. Let's have a look at Outlook. This is Outlook on the web, but if you're using Outlook desktop, it's exactly the same experience. So here's our person. Gabriella has sent us an email. She's feeling a bit concerned about some press she's read over the weekend. And what we get down the side here is a Dynamics 365 pane. This is actually showing us, so now I'm in Outlook and I can see dynamic stuff in Outlook because it's all in one place. So we're seeing Gabriella, we can see her job title, her phone number, the organization she works with, the activities that we've done and we've got coming up. And I can also say, actually, I want to link this. This incoming email is actually related to that big sponsorship deal that we were working on there. And that's called tracked. So what that does is tracks that against the record, which means the idea here is you don't always have to be switching back and forth between Dynamics and than Outlook. If you're working a lot in Outlook, you can actually get a lot of information from Dynamics that's just sitting there, and you don't have to be going back in. So in the context of working with your email, you've got information about what's coming from Dynamics, and back the other way too. If I'm working in Dynamics, I'll just refresh this so you can see, there we go, there's the email from Gabriella that's come in. We've got that there. So we don't have to be switching back and forth. We can just bring those things in and view them together in the one place there. The other thing that we can do is to start to look at the pieces of this that are specific to the fundraising scenario. So this is not just any generic sales platform. We've actually got the ability to bring in things that allow us to start saying, well, what are her preferences? You know, we saw earlier that this organization or this person had existing preferences, and how does that work? We might want to set up a reporting plan. Like, do we need to do a financial report or a progress report, and assign responsibility to someone to do those things? We can get a view of, you know, as we've worked through the different stages of trying to win this, how many days have we spent in each stage? What has been our communication with the person throughout? And also, you know, start to set up that designation plan. If we get this $10,000, how are we going to assign that? What's the proportion, and so on? And it will do that automatic calculation in there. So we've got a lot of things that are connecting back to all of those other pieces in the fundraising system. Deeper into, you know, something else we can bring in here is the idea of insights, because we've got intelligence going on. We can start to predict, based on past behavior in the system, of things in the past that were won or lost. How likely are we to win this one? And that can help us prioritize. You know, I should be putting my time into something like this, where it's and this is awesome, 100% likely, I've done all the right things so far. So it's looking at different factors, and you can actually choose what these factors are to say, how likely are we to win or lose this? And that can help you be proactive. We've also got this assistant that can come in and suggest things. So you'll see here, because Outlook and Dynamics 365 working together, it's able to give us these suggestions. Someone's emailed requesting a meeting, someone's emailed requesting a file. That can even get smart enough to say someone sounded upset and something's at risk. So we can start to bring in that kind of insight with the communications and this working together. And this is another part where we can start to get an overview of the relationship. So we're working on this major donation and it's all looking like it's going well. However, the health of the relationship is not so good here. I haven't spent enough time perhaps emailing. We can see, is all of the communication coming from their side or from our side? How much time have I spent here versus how much time we spend when things go well? And again, I can start to get that insight to go, gee, I should probably pay this customer some more attention here, this organization some more attention here if I'm going to win this major donation, because I can see that the relationship isn't going well, even though on the other side of things it looked like I had done all the right things. So lots of things in here that we can light up inside this platform to enable us to start to get proactive and insights with what's going on. Now, Microsoft Teams here as well. We can collaborate on this. So Microsoft Teams is more than just meetings and chat. You can actually bring this, surface it as a tab inside Teams. So let's say we've got a broader team of people that are helping work on this major sponsorship deal. I've got this sitting inside Teams and it's fully editable. I can actually go in and change things. So this is a live record here. It's not just kind of copied in. It actually exists live. I could go in and update things. And the idea here is that I could be living in Teams and working with this and updating it in here. I don't even need to sign in and go to Dynamics separately. I can just work with it here. I've got the context of any files that I'm working with as well. So we've got, you know, presentations and proposals and so on. They're all still there. And then any other posts, you know, we're doing our collaboration in terms of what's going on in the chat. So you can actually work with this, and this tips the idea on its head a little bit to say we start in Teams, we work in Teams every day, and we bring this application inside Teams and work with it inside teams, and we can start to just collaborate on that and work with that in there. So the other part of this that's really important is that this works back with all of the other stuff that we were talking about earlier. So we've gone off and had a look at this idea of working through these major donations. But when we get to a certain point in development, we'll go, right, this is happening now. I want to push this back to my colleagues over working in the gifts side of things. So I can say, this is going ahead. Let's create this as a donor commitment, which is a pledge in the system. And that goes straight back through. So we get a seamless handoff from the people working through that development process back to the people who then work on the transactional side and work with the gifts and so on. So if we switch back across here into that section, you'll see that we've got a list of all of the different donor commitments that we're working on here, and we can just scroll down a bit. These are sort of arranged by the dates in which they're going to go out. There we go. There's our Christmas appeal for $10,000 from Country Bank there, and that's a seamless handover by clicking that button to take that straight back through to the other team. Again, didn't need to kind of push any data anywhere. We've also got the ability to forecast what's going on. So it's important to be able to see how we're going against our target for the year. So what we've got in here is the ability to say, you know, perhaps we've got a quota of $2 million. How much have we already won, and what's coming up in the future? We can start to predict what that's going to look like then based on what's happened in the system, and even to the extent that we can take a snapshot of that forecast at a particular period in time and see what's changed. So we can go in here and say, well, yesterday we had 3.83 million and now it's down to 3.81. It's not a big change, but where has that happened? And as I hover over each of these pieces here, we can start to see, you know, where did it change? Did something change in being committed or won or lost? And we can see that we've lost some money there in the pipeline, and that would allow us to go through. So if you had a major shift, you know, suddenly you're in charge of doing forecasting and things are looking on track to reach a target of $2 million, and then the next day it's fallen away, you can actually go in and see the snapshot of what that looked like in the past and where it's come from and what's happened. So there's my sort of overview of what we can do in the application. We've got a complete application here that's working with all of those familiar tools that I'm sure you work with some, if not all of those. So we've got this ability to have, here's our person. They have a relationship with a household, they have a relationship with an organization. We can manage transactions both for an individual and for a corporation. We've got different experiences for each user in the system so that they just work with the parts of the system they want, from event management through to the actual kind of gift processing and transactions. Excel working in there natively, Outlook working with that natively, Teams working with that natively, and that's what we mean when we say we're working with a complete platform here. As I said, we are giving you a broad overview of the capabilities today, and certainly if you'd like to see any of this in more depth, we're very happy to show that to you, because there's a lot going on here. But hopefully that gives you a really good overview of where we're at. I'm very happy to take questions as well. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lisa. There's so much to cover, and I know that there's so many aspects to the platform in itself. Great job. So thank you very much for going through that. I have been having a look. I think we're up to about 26 questions. There's a lot to cover. So I will try and do my best, and Lisa, please, you know, chime in regards to some of these elements that I may not know in regards to some of the technical stuff, but let's work through it. So just a little bit of an understanding about licensing. So as we all know, Microsoft licensing is not easy. They are trying to work on making it easier, but to help you understand what they're doing for not-for-profit in regards to this solution. So the fundraising and engagement application you saw today is something you can go and download. It is literally available today, and there's no licensing fees on any of that componentry that you have seen today. So that's a massive step forward in regards to being able to help not-for-profits use the system. Where the licensing does come in is going to be around, say, the underlying platform. So, for example, fundraising and engagement uses the, Dynamics 365 customer service. So that in itself is around $22 per user per month for anybody who would be using it. And from what I understand, the first 5 users for a registered NFP, so if you've got NFP licensing currently with Microsoft, you would get the first 5 customer engagement licenses free. So that's really the licensing cost that would come with it. That doesn't include things such as Office 365. I'm sure you probably have licensing for that. And it doesn't include any of the other components around, say, for example, extending it out to Power BI. So we didn't actually show you any Power BI today. Today, we showed you the power of the standard tools that you would have access to as part of Office, things like Excel and the standard dashboards within the system. The next question I had was around the fundraising module. Is it part of CRM or ERP? Is part of CRM. It is part of, that's the component that it is part of. Off-the-shelf licensing costs. So I hope I answered that question for you appropriately. I'm
going through and picking out a few of them as well and answering them there.
Yeah, so I think I've answered a few of those. NFPs. So just to give you some context, this particular solution that you saw today was released about 3 weeks ago. Now, what it is it's a solution that was developed by an organisation called Mission CRM, and this application has actually been in the marketplace for quite a period of time. What they've done is they've taken that and put a white labelled over the top of Dynamics and put it out to the marketplace. So there are people using the application, but not as you saw it today from a fundraising and engagement perspective. So we're certainly working with clients at the moment who are looking to embrace and put that in as quickly as they can. Things such as relationships, oh, that changed.
I just answered it. So the many-to-many, yeah, we can talk them through. So the many-to-many, the question about many-to-many, so the relationships there between the company and the contact, that is set up as a one-to-many. One company can have many contacts. You can configure these things differently, but as the native functionality, that's how it's designed to work. Can contacts be shared between CRM instances? That would be an export, import, or a connection. So one of the things is that if you've got whatever you add in here, that contact table, if you're adding, for instance, the marketing application in or any of the other pieces in the dynamic stack, you're not having to move them around. If you want to share them to perhaps a third party or another place using it, then you would have a connector that you would move. That is where you would need to move that data across. I answered another one earlier about connecting with MailChimp and third-party platforms as well. So that's about having a connection within Power Automate. So one of the other pieces of the platform, there are native connectors that allow you to do that in a no-code way. So you could certainly move them across to another Dynamics instance or to third parties and things using those tools. But yeah, that is actually, there's fundamentally security around your instance with your licensed users. So you have to be kind of quite deliberately moving things if that's what you intend to do. But yes, it's possible to do that. Volunteer management, do you want to take that one, Amanda?
Yes, so volunteer management, it's an area that right now you can obviously do some basic volunteer management, but if you want to do proper onboarding and being able to manage the life cycle of a volunteer, we have, as Barhead, in fact, we have got a IP that does that within Dynamics, so we can actually extend out the core fundraising and engagement solution to handle that. Also, with regards to recurring and regular gifts, yes, that is standard part of the fundraising and engagement offering. So yes, it does deal with that.
Yeah, I skipped over that a little bit. It's in the part where we were going through and we had transactions, donor commitments, and then there's a thing called payment schedules. So payment schedules allows you to do those kinds of recurring gifts in there as well, and that all links back in.
It's not the most exciting thing to do in a webinar, but have to deal with it day to day. It's a very important part of the solution. So happy to take questions, and please contact us after this. Okay, where were we up to? Access the various connectors that Power BI Desktop has. So if you've got connectors going to Power BI, the odd day you can do it to this application as well. It's the same connectors that Lisa was just referring to. What are the
business process flows? So the way this works, the one I showed you when we went through the development opportunity is actually exactly the same one that exists in Dynamics 365 Sales for an Opportunity. That is the one that comes out of the box there. But if you wanted the equivalent of lead to opportunity, you are actually not losing any of the Dynamics 365 sales functionality. So this thing is built as additional pieces with that. So then what happens in the fundraising solution is that certain parts of that are the most relevant to fundraising are surfaced. Even as I've shown you forecasting there, forecasting doesn't sort of come out of the box with the fundraising solution, but it is out of the box with the sales solution. And I just went in and said, show that here. So all of that is sitting there and you can choose to say, yes, let's use that. So the business process flows, you've got everything that comes with dynamic sales and you can choose to show it if you want to use that, or you can configure your own with a drag and drop designer for your own process flows anywhere in the system.
Yeah, and I think, again, just elaborating on that too, what Lisa was referring to is that's the power of working with an organisation like Barhead, for example, because we know how to take a lot of these, there's so many of these different features and functions within the Microsoft space, and we're taking that and tailoring it for NFP solutions. So, you know, we're able to provide you with some context. How would you leverage something like this, and where would it be useful in your organisation? And where are commercial organisations leveraging sales and marketing? What are they doing with this stuff, and what are they using to predict? Well, this is what they're using. So that's really our job as Barhead to bring that to you.
Now, there's two questions there that I'll take together. Mark and Gregory both asking about the sort of the predictions and the scores and the poor relationship, because that's actually one answer to all of that. So there's another piece that I've surfaced in here called Sales Insights. So Dynamics 365 Sales is the CRM functionality, and then there is another piece on that allows you to add those kinds of predictions and insights into the system. And there's a bunch of just out of the box widgets and things that light up when you switch that on. So what we saw there was that predictive opportunity scoring is one of them. Relationship health is another. So that's actually just an add-on component that just lights up all of those things. You don't have to build anything. In terms of is it done using Azure, in the end, all of this is done using Azure. That's the intelligent cloud underneath, but you don't access it that deeply, but that is in the end where it comes from. But all of these pieces light up, and then you just change the settings on them to say, actually, I want to weight this thing more highly, or I want to say, you know, we want to set our number of phone calls or emails at a certain level, or rank those things. So you're really just kind of tweaking the levers on those and just lighting them up and putting them where you want. We don't have to build anything. There's just another piece that you can join up.
Excellent. Just moving on. Yes, it does have LinkedIn integration. As you know, LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, so that is part of it, and that also goes all the way through to the Sales Navigator, and that will help keep your data up to date. It also another licensing. Hello, Tony. Yes. It is an application. I will provide you with a link if anyone's interested, where you can go and have a look at this application and download it in your tenant if you wanted to. But to do that, you do have to have a partner like Barhead to assist you to do that, because there are functions that you need to get uploaded to ensure that it's working correctly. Data migration, yes, I think we all know data migration, it doesn't change whichever application you go to. We obviously need to go through a process. There needs to be transformation of that data. There are decisions that need to be made. It is a conversation in itself. Again, our role as Barhead to help help you understand the impact of that data migration and to help you through that process. But it is part of our standard implementation methodology for those that want to transport across.
How many different switches are there? What I showed you there is what there is. I think there's about 5. Is it gifts, development, fundraising, events? Those are the major ones. And then the other ones in there, there's one called configuration and one called settings. So those are where you go in to set up all of those pieces I was talking about. So there's about, it's 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a donor portal? You can set up a donor portal. So portal functionality is part of the platform. It doesn't come with that pre-setup, but you can light it up and switch it on and have that working. Yes.
Yes. And payments are processed through the payment gateway, just like, or if it's a high volume, it's leveraging the Azure functions to do the transactional volume, but it ultimately goes through the payment gateway of choice. But out of the box, it works with Stripe, is the standard one out of the box for those that are interested.
Look, obviously, Lisa and Amanda, the solution has evoked a lot of interest here, and that's great for you, and that's great for fundraisers out there. We're really happy that we could facilitate this with our community, and we're going to have to end at this point, everyone. Thanks for staying with us this long, and thank you for all your questions. We've got some comments in there about how informative it's been and how much they've enjoyed it, but people are jumping off and going to new meetings. Yeah. So we'll send you out a link very soon. We'll send you out the presentation as well, and Amanda and Lisa will answer all those questions that we have not been able to get to today. Thank you so much for joining us for another F&P webinar. We've got another one with Blackboard next week if you're interested. But thank you so much, Amanda.
No, don't go.
Lisa. Lots of information there, and congratulations, Barhead, for getting that solution, and I'm sure it'll be of a great help to many fundraisers in Australia.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Claire, and thank you, F&P, for having us and letting us share this opportunity. So it's great. Thank you.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.